Some people thought they were big sheep and just didn't understand, And a lot of questions was asked, of course. So I did a little bit of research to see in my local bookshops and whatever, and I could not get anything, not for adults or children. So I decided what I had learned over the 2 years volunteering there, that I would just put something basic. Now it is basic, but it's enough to inform children a little bit about alpacas, where they come from, what's the male called, what's the female called, the babies.
This is People and Their Poems, a podcast about the poems that make a difference in our world. Host Sandy Carlson talks with people who have become influenced by poetry and who have become a poet or a supporter of this literary form. People and Their Poems is presented by Oronog Mountain Publishing. Thanks for joining us today.
Welcome to People and Their Poems podcast. I'm here today with my friend Caroline Cornelissen, who is in County Carlow, Ireland, and we are going to talk about her book called Alpacas in Green Pastures. So, Caroline, we know Ireland is a place where there are plenty of sheep, and that's sort of the stereotype when we think of those beautiful hillsides covered with those gentle animals. But you've written a book about alpacas in Ireland. Can you tell us what that's about, where it came from?
The reason why I wrote that book about alpacas is because alpacas has come to Ireland, say, the last 30 years. Some are recorded and some are not, in an organisation called the Alpaca Society of Ireland. But main reason why they've come is they're very good protectors for sheep as well. Some people just has them as a hobby. Some people rear them for breeding, for their fibres. 2 years ago, I volunteered to help a neighbour who had bought 4 female alpacas called dams, and they were pregnant. So he was working, and unfortunately he couldn't be there for the birth. So I volunteered to help and brought 3 of the babies of the 4.
Well, that's a pretty big deal. What farming experience did you have that you could help bring these little baby alpacas into the world?
Where I live in this area, we had a mountain farm. So I had goats and sheep there. And then during my childhood, I grew up in the countryside. So I was used to cattle around the area. And then my brother had horses, so I've helped out there with foaling. So I had basically experience, and just put that to my knowledge and hoped that the babies came out okay, and they did.
And they did. Oh, that's amazing. And are they still all living on your neighbor's farm?
They are, and they're thriving. And
can you speak about your neighbor's interest in alpacas? What inspired him or motivated him to bring them to his land?
Well, he has just moved here, say, the last 3 or 4 years. And he had 3 acres of land. And like that, he was thinking about goats. And he grew up and lived in England, and he always admired these creatures. So he decided, that was the way to go for him, was to bring some alpacas.
Oh, that's really lovely. Are you still caring for these animals? You're still helping out across the street?
I do, when necessary, when he needs me. And just recently he had to go away for a couple of days, so took care for them with feeding and watering. And so you're learning every day.
Are they forgiving animals? Are they easy to nurture?
I don't really have a problem with them, but people always brings up, oh, alpacas spit at you and things like that. But I look at it in a different way. It's their way of communicating, and it's usually done when they're eating or something and somebody invade their space.
Oh, okay.
That's how I look at it.
Perfectly understandable behavior then.
It is. Because what would we do if somebody was taking our food or whatever?
So you have these lovely animals living next door. You help some of them come into the world as babies. You continue to help them, and somewhere along the way, you found the time to write this story, this children's story about alpacas, and get it illustrated. Can you talk a little bit about what motivated you to write the story and see it into book form?
I can indeed. The reason, because Alpacas was new to say our area, and where my neighbour lives, it's open to, like, there's the church just close by, the school, so there's always people passing by. So people are curious, of course, because a lot of people has never seen them before. I have seen them on, open farms and things like that. Some people thought they were big sheep and just didn't understand. And a lot of questions was asked, of course. So I did a little bit of research to see in my local bookshops and whatever, and I could not get anything, not for adults or children. So I decided what I had learned over the 2 years volunteering there, that I would just put something basic. Now it is basic, but it's enough to inform children a little bit about alpacas, where they come from, what's the male called, what's the female called, the babies.
Well, it's a lovely instructional text, and I love the way you have the mama alpaca explaining how alpaca life works. It's very, very endearing. Can you tell us a little bit about Grace Conroy's illustrations?
Yes, Grace also grew up on a farm, and I knew her grandmother and her great grandmother. It was one day, it was her great grandmother's anniversary, and her daughter invited us back after the mass service. While I was there, I noticed on the walls on their farm there was a beautiful drawing of a hare and of a dog, and I just thought it was so stunning. So I inquired, who drew that. So they said, "Oh, that's my granddaughter. She's studying art." So that evening when I went home, I thought about it, that I needed somebody to do the illustrations for my story. So I contacted Grace's grandmother, just put it out there, and she kindly gave me Grace's number. And then I contacted Grace, and Grace was delighted to be asked and to try out new ideas for her own creative work. So then during reading my story, I put ideas to what I would have liked, but Grace captured my ideas, but she put lovely expressions, just what I wanted, because I still wanted to remain respectful to the animal, but yet be pleasing in a nice, fun way to children.
Oh, absolutely. They really appeal to the imagination and such respect for and knowledge of the countryside where these animals are living. It's really, really a delight. And I know now that this is in book form, that it's serving the needs of other people when people buy this book. How did you decide to support the two organizations you've chosen with the profits from the book?
I suppose it comes from a deep love of animals myself, and I have seen a lot of animals being neglected and so on and forth. So the two charities, basically, they rescue animals. They give the animals a chance to live and find new homes. So I just felt, why not? And most of these charities, they're struggling and they have to do a lot of work themselves, and they volunteer themselves. So I thought, with this book in mind, why not do it?
Well, it's very, very inspiring to think of how you used your experience, your imagination, tapped into Grace's creativity to create this book to benefit other organizations that take care of animals. It's just a really wonderful way to support the people around you, and that people who purchase this book aren't just buying a book, but they're supporting very worthwhile charities that support animals in Ireland and in the United States.
Exactly. And also it's learning, say, for the United States. I know many people loves Ireland, so it gives them an opportunity to see a little bit more of our culture as well, and the connection, and then vice versa from Ireland. So it works both ways.
And I know you've done a lot of work to promote the book throughout the island, and that you'll be engaging in other activities to encourage people to buy the book and for alpaca people to connect with the story. So I really admire your effort and initiative to get this story out there to people. And in our podcast notes, I'll have links where people can order the book if they'd like to get a copy and support the organizations through their purchase.
Thank you so much.
Caroline, is there anything else you want to add before we close our conversation for this podcast?
Yes, Everyone that gives will help a life. So that's what it's all about. Yeah. And then that animal, if it gets the help that it's needed, will make somebody else happy. And it also might inspire people to write more, to do art, to travel. Today, I had a beautiful phone call from a lady, and her mother, her elderly mother, is having some health issues, and one of them was bit by bit losing her eyesight. So her daughter had my book, happened to have it in the car, and she said, "Mom, why don't you just look at this book?" So first, the mother had to hold the book up into the light, and the sun was shining. And she says, "I can see those pictures. I can see those pictures." And she was so delighted to be able to see something again, and some words she could read. But just to inspire people from so many different angles, between children, adults, learning the culture. And even people are starting to question now about the passage. I always use the pastures fields. So people wants to know about the grass, what kind of grass to grow. So it's coming from all different angles. And I'm so pleased with that it's not just one story, but there's so many angles at this story.
So well said. So we'll leave it there and encourage people to order this book and distribute it, share it with people they care about, and entertain the possibility of just spreading the love through this amazing story. Thank you, Caroline.
And thank you too. I appreciate it.
This has been People and Their Poems, and sometimes prose, presented by Oronog Mountain Publishing. For more on our services, the books we've published, and submitting to our collections or online poetry journal, visit www.oronogmountainpublishing.com. You can check out the Oronog Mountain Poetry Journal at www.oronogmountainpoetry.net. Thanks again for joining us.